Yes. And I mean, now that you said that, it just brought another thing I was thinking about while you were talking before. Remember back in boarding school, especially in Cameroon, and I would think in many other countries, and not only necessarily in boarding school, I just say boarding school just because we both went to boarding school, and that's where we spend most of our adolescent lives in school. And you had all these girls that always had like extremely painful periods, and they would scream and they would cry, and their periods were so heavy, and some of us probably thought, they were just exaggerating or using it as a way to go out of school. Or sometimes we it was just normal. We already, when we just hear a girl crying very loud, we just know it's that time of the month, and we're like, oh yeah, it is that time of the month. And we didn't even think about, could this girl be sick? Could this be something? We just know that, oh, the periods are worse in some girls and not in other girls. You know what I mean? But all of these things, if we took them more seriously, or at least in order for us to take it more seriously, we have to be informed, right? We have to learn. I feel like we need to even be taught these things as young as possible, because any girl that is in her reproductive ages, in terms of like any girl that starts seeing her period can have babies, right? Hypothetically speaking. So if you're seeing your period and the fibroids, especially fibroids being something that is unknown, it's been such a mystery to health professionals to really know the source of fibroids, or even like who can have it or who cannot. I mean, so far they know that, it's probably genetic. If your mom had fibroids, chances that you have fibroids are very high. And it's also very prominent in Black women, or, just other races apart from Caucasian. So it's really low within the Caucasian women or the Caucasian race, So things like that, if we knew those things as young as possible, in order for us to catch those symptoms, I feel like the diagnosis will be higher, and we will tend to do more about it at an earlier age than wait to the point of you giving an organ. How many people give organs? How many people get those scans? You know what I mean? So I just think about all the girls in Africa or Cameroon, because I'm more familiar with Cameroon since that's where both of us are from. All the girls who have died because the fibroids just grew and grew and grew and grew, and nobody, first of all, the doctors, I mean, how many specialists do we have that, could attend to every single woman, And then, we're so used to having those communicable diseases, or those infectious diseases like malaria, just the symptoms, headaches, and all those things, that we tend to ignore the women's issues, right? And then we probably visit them when it's too late, or when something, a comorbidity happens, like, heart problems, or tiredness, or somebody just passes out from low blood hemoglobin levels or low iron levels, and then that's when they discover that, oh my god, this person has this other thing, so it just makes me really wonder how far we have to go, and
Do you
how
know,
much work we have to do.
when I was in lower stage, I had an appendectomy,
Yes.
and when I back, I think it was a misdiagnosis because I
Oh,
was having done, but I
yeah, they
just went in.
just felt the pain and they took out your appendix.
Yeah, I just went into hospital. I said I had pain, and they said, "Oh, we'll operate upon you." And I don't want to go into details because I can only tell you today, sitting here, that it's the grace of God that I'm alive, because
God.
it's truly, honestly, it's the grace of God, because I don't know what diagnosis was done. I probably had fibroids, and I had, my appendix taken off instead of the fibroids.
Fiber.
And there wasn't any scan or anything that I can remember, that I can think of. And the preparation for the surgery was, a whole lot of nightmare. Knowing what I know today and what I went through back then, I
Yeah.
can only tell His grace, because there's no way I should be alive.
Oh my
No.
goodness. That's crazy. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we need to go a long way ahead. One thing, when I watched that video, I mean, First of all, I will include a link to the video for the documentary for people to watch in, the note section of this episode. But when I watched, how many this guy took out of you. Well, first of all, when I watched the video when you were in the hub looking at, virtual reality of all the organs, I was like, wait a minute, where's her stomach? Where is her liver? Where are her intestines? Where is her bladder? Like, I just saw only fibroids. Like fibroids just filled the entire space. And I was like, how have you been managing? How have you been living? Like, this must have affected your quality of life so much. Like I had chills. I was like, what? You
Yeah,
know, and
I
to
said to
know,
you, it's hard,
yeah.
hard.
And to know that, I mean, the highest number of fibers that I've heard someone had was 32. And when the guy said he found 10 more than 90, which is 100, I was
In
mind blown. I was
100 came.
mind blown. Yes. And I was like, first of all, I screamed when he reassured you that, like your uterus was not touched and everything. And I was just like, oh my goodness, we have come a long way with technology. We have come a long way with just advancements. And I was so proud. I mean, I'm a healthcare professional and I was so proud of healthcare. And I was so proud of you, like when you were talking about your story and, you were such a very good patient. I feel like most doctors, would appreciate you and the way you handled that situation. In this situation, is a doctor that had to motivate you, is a doctor that had to care more about you, but you actually cared about also motivating the doctor. You cared about encouraging the doctor, which is such an important aspect in healthcare because, sometimes when you give the professional that much confidence, they feel more comfortable addressing you on unlike if you were just trusted, like they'll be very, very stressed up and very anxious handling you if you were just, freaking out and giving them a hard time. So I just want to thank you on behalf of all health professionals. I just want to thank you for that and just for your bravery, man.
Wow. It is a health professional. Like, I get what you're saying, but sometimes we don't, even though we have complaints, the system doesn't always work the way we want it to work. You
Mm-hmm.
know, constraints, within healthcare, like any other institutions. Sometimes they're understaffed, there's a lot of pressure, but, these people, I don't know how you do it. I can't even care for myself. I cannot do it. It's not in me to nurse, somebody, but
Mm-hmm.
other people to dedicate their time to care for us, in that level, things that I'm not sure I will be able to do.
Yeah.
You know, these people dedicated their time, and that's why my recovery was so quick.
Yeah.
And the care that I received, I cannot even say it. I cannot put it into words. Everything that they did it with purpose. You know, they did it with intention. It wasn't just me going to work today. I'm doing my job. They
Yeah.
wanted me to get well, and it wasn't just physically, it was mentally. And
Yeah.
after my surgery, I was up and about, doing what I wanted to do, taking pictures. And my mom did not believe what she saw. She
Yeah.
thought I was pushing myself. I was like, no, I'm fine. There's a bit of pain,
Yeah.
but I just felt like a new person. There was a rebirth. I felt brand new. I had renewed energy. I was happy. My skin changed. You know, I
Yeah.
become like, my face was just white because there wasn't blood circulating in my body.
Wow.
I was sleeping at night. I was up all night going into the toilet, but now I'm having normal sleep. You know, I'm eating well.
Yeah.
I'm going out. I'm doing things that I didn't do in so many years. So I can only say thank you to the medical professionals because it is down to them. You know.
Living African.